She thought she'd walk free. The 19-year-old sat in court expecting leniency, maybe probation. But when the judge announced 20 years in prison, her face told a different story.
20 years in state prison.
This is the case of Ky'Andrea Cook, a teenager who used a dating app not to find love, but to find victims. And when her plan went wrong, someone ended up shot. Now she's facing 2 decades behind bars, and the courtroom reaction that followed became one of the most watched sentencing moments of the year. If you're new to Courtroom Verdict, we break down the most compelling cases and shocking courtroom moments. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Daytona Beach, Florida, a city known for its beaches and spring break crowds. But in early 2023, it became the scene of a violent crime that would shock the community. Ky'Andrea Cook was just 18 years old when she and her co-conspirators hatched a plan that seemed straight out of a crime drama. They would use dating apps to lure unsuspecting victims, then rob them at gunpoint. The scheme was simple but brutal. Cook would create fake profiles on dating apps, match with men, and arrange to meet them in person. But these weren't dates. They were setups. When the victims arrived expecting a romantic encounter, they were met with armed accomplices ready to take everything they had. For a while, it worked. Multiple victims fell for the trap, handing over their wallets, phones, and car keys under the threat of violence. But like most criminal enterprises, this one was destined to fall apart. And when it did, the consequences would be devastating. On one particular night, things went horribly wrong. During an attempted carjacking, shots were fired. A victim was struck, fighting for his life as Cook and her accomplices fled the scene. What started as robbery had escalated to attempted murder. Police launched a massive investigation, and it didn't take long before they tracked down everyone involved. When authorities arrested Ky'Andrea Cook, she was still a teenager. Barely out of high school, she now faced charges that could put her away for life. Carjacking, armed robbery, and attempted murder. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Investigators had digital breadcrumbs everywhere. The fake dating profiles, the messages arranging meetups, phone records placing her at the crime scenes. Her co-conspirators started talking, pointing fingers, making deals. And the victim who'd been shot? He survived, and he was ready to testify. Cook's defense team had an uphill battle. How do you defend someone caught in a web of digital evidence and witness testimony? Their strategy focused on her age, her circumstances, her lack of a serious criminal history. They painted a picture of a young woman who made terrible choices but deserved a chance at redemption.
I'm going to accept that it's a free, known, voluntarily entered plea. I'm going to set it for sentencing, but I am ordering that pre-sentence investigation. We all need that in our hands and digest it before we can set the sentencing. So you don't have a date just yet. Once that comes in to all parties, then we set the sentencing. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The prosecuting saw it differently. They argued this wasn't youthful indiscretion. This was a calculated, predatory scheme that targeted vulnerable people and left someone with a bullet wound. They wanted her to face serious time. As the case moved through the system, Cook took a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to carjacking and robbery charges in exchange for the attempted murder charge being dropped.
To allow me to coordinate a date certain with Mrs. Terwilliger's office.
It's probably the best idea, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's get the PSI, then I'll leave it to the attorneys to coordinate. What you need to do between now and then is, again, please cooperate with the pre-sentence investigation process. Again, it'll only help you. The other is talk to your attorneys. They're going to set the sentencing. Do you understand? I need you to stay out of trouble with the law. And again, be in touch with your attorneys. They'll give you the rest of the advice.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough? Okay. Anything else for the record?
Nothing further from us, Your Honor.
It was a strategic move, trading the possibility of life in prison for a guaranteed, though still substantial, sentence. But what that sentence would be remained uncertain until the day she stood before the judge. The courtroom was packed on sentencing day. Victim impact statements were read, painting a vivid picture of the trauma Cook's actions had caused. One man described the fear of having a gun pointed at his face. Another talked about the anxiety that plagued him months after the attack. And the shooting victim detailed his painful recovery and the permanent physical and emotional scars he carried. Then it was Cook's turn to speak. Standing before the judge, she apologized.
I want to say that I'm sorry to the victim's mom that her son had been shot because I didn't even know he was going to get shot. My boyfriend and his friends get trained me to do this. I didn't even know what was going on until I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I just want to say that I asked them for forgiveness for should I get a chance so I can get out and finish school. And I can put my mama proud because I want to be her first child to bring home a high school diploma. And I just want to make my mama proud. That's it.
She expressed remorse for her actions and asked for mercy. Her attorney emphasized her youth, her potential for rehabilitation, her family's support. They asked the judge to consider a sentence that would give her a chance to eventually rebuild her life. But the judge had heard enough. Looking directly at Cook, he addressed the severity of her crimes. He acknowledged her age, but made it clear that youth didn't excuse premeditated violence. These weren't impulsive mistakes. They were planned attacks on innocent people. Then came the moment that would go viral. The judge announced the sentence.
20 years in state prison.
Her reaction was immediate and raw. The realization hit her like a physical blow. 20 years. She'd be nearly 40 when released. Her entire 20s and most of her 30s would be spent behind bars. This was real. This was happening. She wasn't going home. Deputies moved quickly to restrain Cook as she broke down. The emotional display was genuine, the weight of 2 decades in prison finally sinking in. For months, she'd likely held on to hope that the sentence would be lighter, maybe 10 years, maybe even less with good behavior. But 20 years shattered any illusions. But the story didn't end there. Cook's legal team filed an appeal, arguing that 20 years was excessive for someone so young with no prior serious criminal history. They pushed for a sentence reduction, and eventually, they got it. In a later hearing, the sentence was reduced to 11 years. Still significant, but cutting her time nearly in half. Even with the reduction, Cook faces a long road. 11 years means she won't taste freedom until she's 30. What do you think? Was 20 years too harsh for a teenager? Or did the reduced sentence of 11 years strike the right balance? Let me know in the comments below.